Recording in progress, it says. So, what's that say? This meeting is being recorded. I know it's being recorded. Right. Welcome to a pod full of saints on Wednesday, the 12th of February, 2025. We're doing this at 9:15 at night. Blooming ridiculous. So I say good evening to Jake, but he can't be here long because his mum's going to tell him he's got to go to bed soon.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Well, hello, Lee. He's got a terrified look on his face because he thinks he's going to miss out on last orders. Evening, Lee.
David, fellas, should we get this circus started, boys, or what?
Yes, we start off with a trip down to North Kent last Saturday. Saints away to Welling United, National League South. A game which people felt we had to win. They were 9 points above us. If we won it, we'd be 6 behind with 2 in hand. Nicely positioned for an exciting run-in. Interesting game, wasn't it? We went into it with 2 new signings. Ollie Davis and Aiden, oh lordy dordy, Dausch, we're going to go for? Yeah, I don't know, make it up, whatever you want. Davis from Ipswich Town, Dausch from Coventry City, I think we know a connection there. James Sweets was also recalled. Claridge was suspended, James Claridge. Reuben White was dropped to the bench, as was Sean Jeffers. I'll come on to him in a minute. I thought a very positive first half for City down there. We scored a goal on, was it 10 or 12 minutes? Gio Rasulu, which you see at the end of this podcast, was disallowed for offside, and it was not offside. Worst thing about that, the player keeping them on was on the linesman's side. All right, they moved quickly, but we thought we should have seen that one. But yeah, it was an encouraging first half, wasn't it? But we just couldn't get a goal.
Yeah, and I think that was the one disappointment of that half, is that we couldn't capitalise when we were on top. And you feel as though the run that we are in, we are struggling for goals at the minute. And I was saying this to a few of the lads yesterday. We're not ruthless enough. And it seems we need 3 or 4 decent chances just to score a goal at the minute. And when we were on top, and we were so on top, fellas, Welling were atrocious team. They really were. They were there for the taking first half. Gio's offside goal, Jake, I mean, it looked offside to me as it happened, but obviously Taz's Blair Witch video of Doom sort of, suggested that otherwise. But I think, in all seriousness, we've got to look at that game, that half in particular. I mean, we should have absolutely bagged 2, maybe 3 goals just on the pure possession alone and the chances we had. I thought the 2 new fellas, they looked really good, considering they've just come in and they're running, they're hitting the ground cold. They looked sharp, they looked inventive, they looked as though they wanted to get involved and get stuck in. Young, tenacious, and you're probably going to get onto this, Tabs, at a later stage, mate. But 2 new young loanee signings from pro clubs. When you get some good ones, mate, they're worth their weight in gold. And these 2 look as though they could help us out of a little bit of a rut.
Right, before we unleash you, Jake, the trouble was saying we should have had 2 or 3 goals. We didn't threaten. The keeper, whose name escapes me at the moment. Oh, yes, Reece Lovett. The time wasting Reece Lovett. Give him his full name. He hardly had a save to make. One of the new boys had a shot straight at him, which was simply saved. If I can remember which one it was, I'll tell you. The other one put the shot across the face of the goal, just wide, the back post. But really, we didn't create enough, I think you mentioned there, Lee, which our possession warranted. You and I disagree with that totally, Jake, obviously.
No, I won't. You agree. You've got to score goals, haven't you? If you want to score goals, you got to get shots away. We just didn't do that enough on Saturday, especially first half, given how much of the ball we had first half and how poor that Welling side looked. And I think a few of us commented at half time that unfortunately this is going to end up going to be one of those games, isn't it, where second half we struggle because Welling changed their shape, applied themselves. Rod Stringer isn't exactly going to be quiet, is he? And that is what happened in the second half. But yeah, first we looked good, we played well, we applied ourselves, and it was great to see us go into that game. Obviously, a bit of a change in shape, a few more forwards on the pitch, but trying to go for it. I know we didn't get shots away, but at least up until the edge of the box, we were a team that was going for it, that looked like it knew it had to win this game. It was unfortunately just fell apart in the box. But as I say, the new lads looked pretty good, and Dausch had Davies talked about that shot, but watching it back on the highlights, it wasn't far away at all, was it, from
No.
that top corner? So a really positive in that sense. It is just the lack of goals in that first half again just seems to be the story of the last month or so, doesn't it?
Yeah, credit to Welling manager Rod Stringer for making that change at half time. It did change them, change their shape, and they looked a lot better for it in the second half. But they went into it on the back of a dreadful run. 5-1 defeat away to bottom side Weymouth a week before. It lost 7 of the previous 9. Dylan Berry had played in 6 of the games, our old boy there. Ben got dropped. An absolute howler he made at Weymouth. He took stick for the whole game. I can't see why. He's only at fault for one of the goals. And yeah, they were there for a taking, but they came back well. But then us, having been under pressure in that second half and fallen a goal behind, which came from, first of all, from Alfie Bendle's poor clearance, which is such a shame because he had a really good game. And then he just did a panicky clearance straight to them and it allowed them to build and get the goal. But otherwise, another good day for Alfie. But then, what a final flurry. We came back, didn't we, really strongly, quite impressively, and then got a fortuitous own goal off Dave Winfield.
It was fortuitous, but what I would say is that we also changed our shape. Harrison Smith, who I thought fought, bravely all afternoon. Second half, there was always 2 on him at any given sort of time. I would have loved this. I mean, Jeffers came on, and there's a bit of deliberation after the game, Jake, about whether that would have affected the game as much, because Harrison has that ability to create something out of nothing. But Harrison and Jeffers, they play well together. So I would have liked to have Harrison to have stayed on and Jeffers to have added a little bit of threat up front, if you like. But there was always 2 on Harrison, and he was just getting marked out of the game. So what they did, if they gave Mason a bit more width on the wing, Tafari on the other wing, and they just started delivering balls into the box. And ultimately, I don't know, fortuitous Taz, yes, of course, but the ball was decent. Once you start delivering those balls in, they are a threat. The keeper didn't know what he was doing, to be honest with you. I mean, that's going to look good on his GoPro video feed that he had. But look, I mean, on the whole of the game, I don't think it's any less than we deserve. But you've got to look back at this. And Jake and I, we gave it some good old sort of chit-chat on the train. Those are points dropped. They're points dropped, Tabs. And we're looking at it, it was a must-win, it was a must-win. It was a must-win. But I think, we've come from behind again. The pitch was not conducive at all to any sort of football. It was an absolute mud bath. Really poor. But look, I don't know how is it, given the result last night, is it as bad as what we sort of first thought on Saturday? Maybe not, but even so, we've got to start winning games like that, especially when we're on top for large parts of the game.
It was felt, I agree with you, as though that one had got away. That was one we needed to win. Welling side out of form, heading one way at the moment, although they had a good win a couple of weeks ago. Way to Western-super-Mare, brought in the new boys from Eastbourne and got an immediate result, then come back down to earth at Weymouth. It did feel like that was one we needed to win, but we'll come on to it later, but you alluded to it then. Results last night, we've got our get out of jail cards back in our hands again. And well, hopefully we're going to grab it this time. Disallowed goal. That was a shame, wasn't it? You wonder what would have happened to the game then, because us getting an early goal, it's a rare thing. I know we got one against Torquay, but against a side like Welling who are struggling, you'd have thought that would have been just the lift for us and just the killer for them. And the other thing, our support, absolutely magnificent on Saturday.
It's amazing, isn't it? We keep again, talked about it last episode, didn't we? Just hang on about the brilliant support this season that, arguably the team maybe doesn't deserve, but it's been superb. And if we're going to go down, then, it's not going to be because of the fault of the fans, is it? They've been behind the lads all season, home and away, whether it's been a goal behind or 3 or 4 goals behind. So it's been brilliant. I just wanted to ask both of you, do you think we should have had a penalty second half when Bendle went down in the box? Watching it back on the initial reaction in real time was definite penalty. Watch it back on the highlights, it feels like just 3 people slip over at the same time. in the same area of the box. It's quite an interesting one to decide. And, I can kind of see why the ref didn't give it, but at the same time, Bendle loses the ball and the situation disappears.
Do you know what, Jake? I haven't looked at my own clip of that yet. I'm not sure if I got it. I haven't looked yet. But looking at the club highlights, 100% not a penalty. I think the referee got it right.
Interesting.
There you go. Are we allowed to be honest?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, support the Saints, penalty. Okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah, you mentioned the pitches. Paul, we've got another poor one coming up this Saturday at Bath. They put a statement out about it last week. I've got to say, there's a women's game on it. That does little harm to it. It doesn't matter. It's like our pitch. You had a game on it Saturday and Sunday. It's just the fact that it loses another day of rest, which is what pitches need this time of year when it's been so damp. And so it doesn't matter how light the game is. It's still don't do the pitch any favours. Anyway, we've gone slightly off menu there.
No, you have. You don't bring us into this, mate. This is all you're doing.
Right, okay. And other change, we'll talk about players who came in. Claridge was suspended. James Claridge, Ruben White was dropped to the bench and dropped completely last night. And Sean Jeffers on the bench. Now, Sean Jeffers, they touched on his illness recently, and apparently it's been really, really serious. It's only his determination to play. He makes himself available. He's had this virus. He's got onto his lungs and everything. He should have been rested for a couple of weeks at least. And he's done himself no favours. He's looked a shadow of his former self. And you can't help but admire his determination to play, but might not have done himself any favours long run. So we'll see if he's in the squad Saturday. He may be over it by now, getting towards the end of it. But it's good to see that attitude in the squad, isn't it, I suppose?
Definitely.
Good. Right, Saturday's done, yeah?
I think so, yeah. Actually, I think we'll just say for a few fans, I know a few fans enjoyed Welling Stadium. I think that's all I'm going to say about the matter. I know that's been a topic of conversation, and the locals as well. But there you go.
It's a shame, actually, because there's some nice people at Welling. They knock out team sheets nice and early, 20p a copy. We can't even get them last night to the press at 10 minutes to kick off. It's absolutely shameful. We've got a full-time secretary, a part-time secretary, a match secretary, a media team, and we can't even get team sheets done on decent time. Welling got them done early. Hampton knock them out of the quid. Braintree knock them out of 20p. Another club sell them as well. They get them out early. We've got this professional background team.
Team sheets. You're giving us team sheets.
Terrible.
The ground's a shithole. It looks like something out of the Crimson Factor, right? And you're on about team sheets. Do me a favour. Jesus.
It's funny because if they had the money to do up the terracing and whatnot, that would be a really good ground.
Yeah.
But it's partially excelled by. It was going to have that major development over the course of 2 years. That all fell apart, and the whole stadium is just deteriorating.
Yeah, funny how they found the money to buy half of Eastbourne's squad though the other week, didn't it? But again, I suppose that's a different part entirely. Quick, Tuesday, quick.
Right, that gave us our 5th successive draw. Only the second time it's happened in one season, and the last time, of course, we were relegated. There we go. There's another couple of stats coming up in a minute.
Yes.
Yes, I know. It's marvellous.
We're only here for the stats, mate.
As we move on to last night's game at Clarence Park against Slough Town. Smallest crowd of the season for us, 834. Smallest league crowd, I should say. 2 successive home gates, under 1,000. Whoa! Both Tuesday nights ones. Slough Town, they to me are the ideal opposition for us to play at the moment. They recently went on an 11-match run without a win. Then somehow, thanks to a Needham Fruity goal, they beat Maidstone on Saturday. But my God, didn't they look awful? Ollie Davis and Harrison Smith were dropped to the bench. Castiglione came on, well, for 67 minutes anyway. His 23rd start, 19 times subbed. And Claridge was back from suspension. That first half, we thought we played well Saturday. That was made to look pedestrian last night. That was a superb 45-minute performance. Only one thing seemed to be lacking, didn't it?
Yeah, what was that, Dave? I mean, we actually got a penalty as well. Come on. I mean, yeah. One supporter turned around to me after that penalty was missed and said, now ask Tavs how long it's been since the longest run we've ever had without scoring a penalty. So,
Ooh, yes.
so that's your next task for next episode, Dave.
Why
But
didn't
yeah,
you send me a message earlier?
no, I've
Okay, go on.
only just remembered. You are right. That first half was really, really good, wasn't it? We created so many problems for Slough. They didn't know what to do, did they? Really? We created problems. I think we packed the midfield. We brought Josh in. Went one up front with Dausch, and that midfield took control of the game very early on, and we sort of strangled Slough for a lot of, well, all of the first half and a decent amount of the second half. The only problem was the lack of goals. We got the penalty, couldn't put it away. I'm quite surprised Zane Banton didn't step up as maybe the senior man in the squad.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple of others, didn't you? I mean, James Sweet with a great clearance off of the line for the Slough.
Ah,
Guy,
unbelievable.
I know. And then the ball into the box that Josh Castiglione. Maybe does he just need to chuck himself out at full speed instead of going for a leg? But there were chances, wasn't there? That's more than we've had in quite a few games in recent memory.
Yeah, it was good football. And Slough made it look so pedestrian. They were opened up so easily. You look at their Twitter, they couldn't believe they weren't getting thrashed by half time. And even in the second half, when Slough picked up, they didn't really threaten a lot. But it did seem as though our chance had gone, and it would go into injury time with that penalty miss, and you think, this is going to cost us big. And then Alfie Bendle, what a goal! What a goal! Kept his composure. It's funny, isn't it? You talked about the penalty. Lee said about the cross into the box for the goal Saturday. Early in the season, we'd have been fiddling around, going backwards and forwards, looking for the perfect ball. You gamble, the ball's in the box, it can break your way. So it did for the goal Saturday, and we got a penalty just by somebody running into the box. And it's a great long spell. It's 36 game of the season, first penalty, one game short of the record. At the start of the season, I should say. Just because you're putting pressure on the opposition.
Yeah.
Things happen your way, and he took a nice tumble. He shouldn't have taken it. But then again, Zane's only taken 3 penalties for us during the game. Scored 2, missed 1. So it's not a great record, but he's got a good record in shootouts for a time. I'd look that up for you. So he's not the first one to miss a penalty on his debut, actually, Dash. But you just found, why didn't it go to one of the experienced players? But hey ho, in the end, it didn't cost us. And it was just reward. It was such an enjoyable performance. Lee Anderson was there, Ian Anderson was there, both from Hemel, watching to see what was going on. And they would have been surprised how well we played first half. Maybe they've learned something for next week. But it really has given us hope, and it's given everybody a lift.
It has. I mean, we went in.
So I was going to say, Joe, particularly with Welling going down at Enfield. All right, Enfield's still 4 points above us, but Welling really are sucked into it now.
Yeah, I mean, coming away from the game on Saturday, the mood was somber, maybe to an extent. I think a lot of fans thinking, right, that was our chance missed. But then suddenly, this blooming football club has given us hope. And now we go into the season, into the rest of the season, thinking we can still do this. 6 points, games in hand, goal difference improved. You're right. It was a deserved result, deserved display. Alfie Bendle, aside from the goal, I thought he was superb in the middle on Tuesday night. He was everywhere. He's winning the ball, looking forward, wasn't he, Dave? When we signed him, you sort of said if he can live up to what we think he can, he's going to be a good signing for the rest of the season, and he's proving that so far. So positive, and that's a great thing. Last night, you said there was a lot of balls into the box. There was a lot, wasn't there? And it was positive throughout the game, just going in there and giving it an opportunity. I think we probably could have still got a few more shots away. There's 1 or 2 chances on the edge of the box. I think just shoot, just do it now. Don't take another touch. But we're working on that, and it's just so many positives from Tuesday night. It was a poor Slough team. You are right. They made some changes which I think helped us to their starting 11. But at the end of the day, you've got to beat the teams around you, in and around you and above you, to have any hope of staying up this season. And if we can do that and repeat that performance in the coming weeks, we are giving ourselves a chance. It's only a chance, but a chance going into the final run-in.
It's unfortunate that we didn't beat Welling or Salisbury, 2 of the sides right above the relegation line, so we could have sucked them in. But we've still got 3 more games against the other three sides in the bottom 4. And you've got to fancy our chances at the moment, but who knows? Zane Banton, penalty shootouts, taken 10 penalties and scored 8 of them. So not a bad record there. The Bendle thing, I forgot where I was going with that. You can rattle on some more if you wanted. I know.
One thing I was going to say, I actually spoke to one of the Enfield directors this afternoon, because obviously we're both in the same boat pretty much. He asked if I was optimistic about our chances. They are really geared up for this now because they've won 3 on the spin. I basically said to him, because he was really surprised we didn't have that new manager bounce. But I explained that morale was so low and the players weren't performing at any sort of level that it was going to be tough to get that. They've put all of their money into a centre half, and they're keeping goals out. And they're just praying now because that's it. That is all their investment into the centre half, and they're hoping and praying that their forwards try and score some goals, which they are doing. I asked him whether he's sort of optimistic about their survival chances, and he said, "We're still shit, but not as shit." So, and he said, "We're just here for the ride now." You know, they had to ship all, most of the players that got them up. It was a rude awakening for them, but somehow, just through grit and determination and some astute purchasing in the transfer market, they've managed to get some players who can perform, and they've got a few results together. And I think that's what we need. I mean, we're unbeaten in 5 or 6 or whatever it is now, but it's the wins the 3 wins they've got, and look where they are. They've really given themselves a chance. If we can build on Tuesday, going into Bath, who are there as well, they're struggling themselves in terms of, they've had such a turmoil season. Who knows? But the thing is, you're absolutely right. We've got to beat the teams in and around us. But the thing is, Enfield have come from nowhere. I mean, they were dead and bedded along with Weymouth. They were gone. And 3 wins on the spin. Look what he can do for someone's chances of survival, fellas.
It's funny, isn't it? People keep saying, well, we just need to get a run of wins together. Well, before last night, we won 3 in 29.
Yeah.
We couldn't see it coming. Now there's a bit more hope, but you've got to hope it's not another long gap till the next win like we've had with the previous 3.
Yeah.
It's astonishing what Enfield have done. Everybody's written them off. Before the season started, I think most people have written them off.
Yeah.
And Gavin McPherson was taking a lot of stick, our City old boy, of course, their manager. And so it's good to see him giving themselves a chance to survive now. Will it be enough? You've got also their wins. I think they come against the lower league sides. They haven't been against the top sides, but they've done what we didn't do against the likes of Salisbury and Welling. So full marks to them for that. Getting back to us, you mentioned a new manager bounce. But of course, all he's brought in so far is kids, probably none of which, apart from Brandon Mason, none of which were probably his signings. You'd imagine he wanted more experienced players in there who he's known for years, and whether the club haven't given him the backing or he's been unable to get them away from their clubs or whatever, but it hasn't happened. So the new manager bounce was difficult. But what is it, 12 games he's had now? If you said a manager had come in, take it before last night, in his first 11 games, and you only lost 3 after being on a losing run out of 11, you say, well, you take that. But the trouble is, it was just that 1 win. The rest of them were all draws. And the 1 win in 11, you're right, that isn't a new manager bounce. Whether you're going to get it with the kids, whether they can perform consistently now, is another thing. But another good thing in our favour, you mentioned new centre-half there for Enfield League. Well, look at our record. Last 8 league games, we've not conceded more than 1 goal, which is crucial. It gives us a chance every game getting something out of it. And if we can get 2 goals a game, we're going to do it. You go back to the first 13 games of a 22-23 season, we didn't concede more than 1 goal in those first 13 games. Ian Anderson was sacked after the 9th game. So if we do it after the 9th game Saturday, that's Ian Culverhouse out of a job, obviously, as well. But it does show, if you can tighten up at the back, you're giving yourself a chance.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've been saying this, haven't we? We sort of identified the defence is all right now. We just need to get it going in the forward areas in the midfield. And I think they've done well with the defence. And I think upon reflection now, after they've come in, I think they've had to do a lot of work, haven't they? I think we've seen with the amount of players that have come in and out of the squad already. I know a lot of them are loans, but there has been quite a bit of turnover, hasn't there? And you look at the team last night and the bench as well in the last two games, really. There's a lot of new faces, isn't there, that are starting or recent arrivals at least. And I think that shows that they have had to do a lot of work, but they're putting us into a position where giving us a chance. And I think the great thing is last night, it wasn't like a sudden one-off performance, was it? It has been a gradual improvement over the last 6, 7, 8 games, starting from a very low base, but late base is still low, but it has been an improvement. We're getting there. I think the only thing we really need now is just a full 90-minute performance. I still don't think we quite had it against Slough. There was 20 minutes there where Slough got a little bit of an upper hand. They didn't really threaten, but they were still. We sort of just let it go slightly, and the game just drifted. But I think that's the next step now. Put in a full 90-minute display, pick up that next win, and carry on. And like you said, Dave, a couple of minutes ago, just get a run of results. If you can get 2 wins on the bounce, pick up a win on Saturday against Bath, goodness knows if we will, touch wood, the picture will look very, very different already by 5 p.m. on Saturday evening. So, yeah, it's about that run now, but we've got something here now. We've got something to build upon. It's just, can we carry it on, hopefully?
I agree with you about Slough second half. They looked a much better side second half. Still didn't look an awful lot better than Welling, it must be said. And you can see why they've had their bad run. But one thing, we created problems ourselves. When it went into injury time, we started giving away silly free kicks in positions. And Scott Davis had just come off a bench for them. Just about the best dead ball exponent in National League South. I think, what are you doing? Stop giving away these free kicks. But fortunately, they didn't punish us from them. Tim Petty surprised the world at the weekend. He came up with an interesting comment. He suggested Gio Rasulu's looking much better with his younger legs all around him, running around. Do you think it's helping to bring a bit more out of his game?
Yeah, I do actually agree. I think since we had that episode on the podcast where we sort of said Gio hasn't done it this season, he has been improved the last two. And I think that is part of the reason. You've got players around him. I think, again, this is the Alfie Bendle episode, but I think Alfie Bendle has been absolutely crucial in that midfield. We've finally got someone that is getting from box to box and covering a lot of ground, that actually has the technical ability to do it and carry those, well, maybe not carry those players, but give those players around him a bit more license to do what they would want to do and what they need to do in the system that we've got at the minute. And I think Alfie Bendle, I think if we can keep him fit for the rest of the season, will hopefully be a reason why we can fight and hopefully do what we want to do. But yeah, Masulo's improved. I think everyone is improved. The midfield's looking a lot better at the minute. It is just now that final. We need a game where we can score 2 or 3 goals, don't we? I think that's the final hurdle.
Well, it's funny, wasn't it? Last night we had 3 centre forwards in effect sitting on the bench. And when Gio did go off injured with a head injury, I think it was, surprisingly, Alfie Payne was put on because by then, just over a quarter hour to go, 0-0. We've got to go for the win. We've got to take gambles now. And he brings Alfie Payne on, who did just about the worst corner you're going to see all season. And you thought, chuck a forward on there. But it all came good in the end.
It did. And I have to say, I thought Davis looked very good when he came on as well, down the left-hand side. He caused a lot of trouble with Brandon Mason. I think, again, Brandon, first half especially, caused them so much trouble down that side, didn't he? He looks like a really good acquisition from the management. And yeah, I think that left-hand side of the team all of a sudden looks really, really strong. And you've got players like Davis that are coming off the bench. We've got options now, don't we? And we talked about at the start of the season, didn't we, Dave? You were very clear. Fine, we've got a good starting 11, but look at that bench and there's almost nothing there. And upon reflection, you were right for once. But now look at the squad. It's much deeper, isn't it? There's more options available.
Have you seen the post-match interview, Lee? Paul Bastock, Bazza at his best. Joe only had to ask about 2 questions. The rest of it was 4 minutes of Bazza beaming. And he came across so well. He loves the club and he's so pleased to get a victory.
And it's been a long time coming, right? I mean, the thing is, Paul Bastock is the gift that just keeps on giving, isn't he? And I think what is refreshing is that you've got the tactician in terms of Ian Culverhouse, but then you've got someone who's been here, who's seen it, who's done it, wears his heart very much on his sleeve. And he's kicking every ball with those supporters. He's you know what I mean? And I think having someone like that the supporters can really interact with, it does help, because it's good to see them going through pretty much the same emotions that we're going through. And I think what you've seen is a collective, both in terms of from the dugout and on the terraces. And, I know that the atmosphere last night at Clarence Park would have been absolutely rocking. And Paul Bastock is the epitome of everything that is good about St Albans City. Passionate, empowered. He wants the young kids to. He's looking to educate and teach along the way as well. And he wants us. There's no one more fitting to be in that dugout alongside Ian Culverhouse. But one thing I would say, we're going to need all of that passion going forward, because you can see, as Jake alluded to there, we've got the start of something. Unfortunately, it's whether we've made that start early enough to get us out of trouble. Just quickly touched on Gio. I was very critical of Gio, and I think probably justified given a month or so. And because the thing is, when he's on it and he can perform the way that we know he can, he's an integral part of our squad, integral part of our team. And whether you've got Alfie or anyone else around him doing the legwork, it just gives him full concentration to do what he does best, looking to pick those passes in behind the defenders, trying to set players up. I think we saw that evidently. It all kicked off against Welling on Saturday, and obviously that's now continued into the game last night against Slough, and hopefully that will continue again on Saturday against Bath, because if we're going to get out of this, we're going to need everyone to pull their weight. And a fully fit Gio Rasulo with the bit between his teeth and that sparkle in his eye to cause some damage to opposition defences is going to be a beautiful thing. And we're going to need that as well, because, when we're not scoring goals in the frequency that we have been, then we're going to need to create chance after chance after chance. And Zane Banton can't do it all by himself. Bless him. He's been an absolute revelation this season, really. He's come back and he's been nothing less than absolutely miraculous. But we're going to need other players like Gio to sort of start chipping in now. And if we can get a goal or two along the way, that'll be even better.
You say about Zane. When he got substituted last night, there was a chap standing in front of us. You don't know what you're doing. You're having the right go at Culverhouse. I think we know who won that argument in the end. But yes, Zane has been quite useful lately. He mentioned goals there. Only Weymouth scored fewer than us this season in National League South. Only one other side has scored only 29 like us. It's Bath City on Saturday. And they got 3 of theirs last night. So that's going to be a goal fest, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Culverhouse and Bazza have tried to address it, haven't they? I mean, we know they're loans, but we've got 5 proper forwards in the squad now. Maybe not all proper, but, Ken Charles is still absent through shin splints, we believe. You got Sean, who's come shin splints, Lee. Sean, obviously, coming back from his illness, Harrison Smith, and you got Davis and Dausch. They're both forwards as well. So you've got a lot of options. There should be goal scorers in this squad. It's just a combination of, can they put the chances away? Obviously, Dausch didn't last night. And will they get the service? I think the service is coming along now. We're starting to see those balls into the box. Now we just need those forward players to step up and put the chances away. Hopefully they will begin to do that.
Yeah. Bath City, they just about got themselves clear of danger. They sacked Jerry Gill early this season after 8 years was it, at Twerton Park? He had to go, really. Record got so poor this season. Darren Way come in, steadied the ship. They went on a dodgy run, but now they've bounced back again. Won 2 of the last 3, and say about 3-0 win at Weymouth last night. And Weymouth's, they look gone now. You would have thought. Mathematically, can still do it, but realistically, no. They've only won 3. Which we were level with up until last night, of course. My contact at Bath said their problem is they just don't score goals. Well, they got a couple last week against Chelmsford, gave them victory, then 3 last night. And also, interestingly enough, last night, Scott Wilson's back amongst them. He got a couple of them. His first one since New Year's Day, I think it is. So if he comes back into form, that could be a problem for us. We're going dodgy pitch. We're used to that after last week. I thought Clarence Park held up quite well last night. You could see one damp bit, but even that didn't cut up in the corner. So the pitch did quite well last night. It's one we can't afford to lose. Can we afford just a draw, or we got to go there and win? We've still got 16 games, but of course the teams above us, as we've seen, they're winning.
But
I think, yeah, go on.
I was going to say, but you have a very, very tricky fixture 48 hours later, don't you? So, sorry, Lee.
No, not at all, mate. I think we are going down there. We have to look to win.
Yeah.
You know, just because we've clawed a few results doesn't mean we can be complacent, doesn't mean we can start getting comfortable and thinking ahead as far as the 16 games time, because Bath, they're not a great side. They're not the Bath of 4 or 5 years ago when they were still up there doing things. They've still got some good players, as you said. Wilson's, Kieran Parcell, I think, is a good player. But
Captain. Yeah.
We cannot afford to slip up, to take our foot off of the gas, because ultimately, if you start thinking about, could we get away with a draw down there, and then we go get, spanked at Boreham Wood, then we're back. We put ourselves back a month. I think we've got the players now. We've got the variety of players. I think you can see how well we can play on a bad pitch. I think Harrison Smith is going to be key for us again. So he needs to be on it, but he's got a really good support cast now. The 2 young fellas, they've come in and they've really, I wouldn't say turned our season around, but they've really contributed massively to the 2 results over the last sort of week or so. So if we can go into the Bath game again, there's absolutely no reason. Yes, they're on a little bit of form and they won against Weymouth, but I'm pretty sure Weymouth, they're pretty much on the beach themselves. It's going to be tricky, Taz. There's no doubt about it. We shouldn't take it for granted in any way, shape or form. But we've got a large contingent going down there. We've got our friends from Worms coming over at the weekend. We could be travelling down in numbers. We're going to have our voices. We're going to have beers. We're going to have flags. We're going to have a real enthusiasm to cheer on the boys. Hopefully now, this will be the start of a good little run. And those 3 wins that you were after, Taz, maybe we just get number 2 on Saturday, mate.
But apparently last night, Weymouth, they matched Bath up until the first goal, but after that, Contact said that it was their easiest win of the season. Weymouth just fell apart. Totally at sea. I shall miss going there. I had a lovely day down there early in the season when Weymouth. Mind you, we might not miss it if we play this right.
Brilliant.
Right, okay. We do a prediction in a minute for that one, because we've got another game on Monday night. As we mentioned, Lee Anson and Ian Anson were watching us on last night down the park. Currently, they're running Hemel Hempstead Town, and they've done a terrific job, haven't they? Turned them around. Only 2 points above Bath. So in theory, both them and Bath could be sucked into trouble. But in reality, Bath need probably 13 points to stay up. Hemel need 11. And from 15 games, you'd imagine both would do that, the way they're going at the moment. We'll go back to the game on Boxing Day. First half, we played rather well. Goal up, dominating. Only 8 minutes of the second half played before somebody pulled the floodlights out. And Hemel had dominated then. So what can we take from that? Hemel's results have picked up since then. It is going to be a tough one. Not just because it's a local derby. Hemel are a much better side than when we played them then.
I think we're also a better side than when we played them on Boxing Day. So, Hemel have turned it around. And I'm pleased for the Allison family. But I think we're a better side now. And I think that, look, we can't read. To be honest with you, mate, I'm not even going to think about Hemel until we got Bath out of the way. But I know what you're trying to sort of say. But you're after continuity, right? The the worst thing we can do is start looking too far ahead of ourselves. Hemel's going to take care of it itself. And to be honest with you, we've been in situations in the past where we've been at polar opposite ends of the table, and that counts for absolutely nothing in those sorts of games. So I really wouldn't read too much into their upturn in form. But look, it's a really interesting and precocious time of the season for us. We've turned it around in terms of a few results here and there, but we can't be too complacent. We can't, and I'm pretty sure Ian and Bazza won't let that happen. You spoke about the passion of Bazza after their post-match interview. Listen, he's no mug. He's got his tactics spot on as well. He's going to be a massive part, an intrinsic part of how we approach games like that. You know, almost sort of taking the emotion out of it, making sure we stick to our guns, stick to our template, and hopefully get something out of that game as well.
On Monday night, Hemel drew 0-0 away to Chelmsford City. Lee Anderson wasn't exactly complimentary about that game last night. But in the 6 games prior to then, Hemel had scored 16 goals. In many ways, Jake, it's similar to what happened when Ian came in at Clarence Park and got us out of trouble there. We didn't just get out of trouble. We scored goals left, right and centre, didn't we? And Hemel, not quite like that, but it's a pretty good return.
It is, and you know they've done a good job, haven't they? We feared they would when they got appointed, and we know the Allensons well, and you know, it is what it is, isn't it? They've done well, and what I say, they've had the backing as well of the club, haven't they? In terms of bringing in new faces, spending a bit of money, getting rid of some players as well. A few surprise departures, but then they followed those up with good signings. For example, last week Dan Pybus from Dorking on loan. That's a cracking signing on paper. So those sort of bit of rotation in the squad, it's worked well. And they're also getting the best out of players like Kyron Wiltshire. He didn't have an exactly spectacular start to life at Hemel, but Ian knows him well, Lee knows him, getting the best out of those sort of players, and it's working well, isn't it? And like you say, Dave, they've done well. They had a higher bar than us. They've come from higher up. They've had to do less work in terms of results to get them towards closer to safety. But we know they will be well up for this on Monday night. And like Lee says, you can't really predict it, can you? We just know that both management
we're going to smash
teams...
them. We're going to absolutely smash them.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But
we know both management teams are going to be on it. And that Hemel Boxing Day game was sort of the perfect embodiment of our season so far, wasn't it? Really good 45, second 45, it looked like it was just falling apart just about, and then someone pulled the plug. So we'll see how this goes, but it's difficult to predict apart from if you Leeward, the NLS expert.
Very good. Yes, right. Let's do a prediction for Bath City.
How do we get on in predictions over the past week, Tavs?
We mentioned your win, didn't we?
Can we mention it again? It's very rare, so I think it's worth it.
You won 2 of the last 3, but we're not going to count it because you weren't there, obviously. So, you know.
Expert.
Yes, I think we can go to Bath full of confidence. But last night was the first time we've taken 4 points off a club this season. Saturday we got the pleasure of taking 6 off a club for the first time.
Oh my god!
Yes,
What have you done? What have you done?
So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
No. He's been too positively.
Yeah.
Jake?
Go on, let's go. 2-0 Saints.
Oh! Lee, you're going to make it a clean sweep.
No, I don't think so.
Good.
I think we're going to go for a cheeky little 2-2.
Oh, that's all right. It's funny, isn't it? We're all predicting us scoring 2 goals. Our first 7 visits to Twerton Park, we couldn't win a corner, let alone score a goal. That included playing Team Bath, didn't it? Wonderful 0-0 draw that was. Anyway, happy days. Right, next Monday, closer to home then, Vauxhall Road on the plastic, so probably doesn't count, so it's not a proper pitch. You can go first this time, Lee.
2-0.
So, to us again, I suspect.
Yes.
Jake?
1-1, please.
Okay, pinch my score now. I think there will be goals. I'll go for Leeds 2-2 Saturday and carry it to Monday.
Cool.
There's 6 predictions there. Not one of us predicted a defeat. This is what winning one game does.
Bloody club. Hey,
This-
Sonny
this is-
just drags you from the depths of despair.
We're just
Look what he does.
delusional, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And drunk. Perfect.
Reality goes out the window.
Yeah. But before we go, and I know this is going to trigger Dave, but a supporter came up to me last night and wanted us to mention that there appeared to be no programs available at last night's game, and for some reason there was an issue with getting.
What happened in my day?
There was some reason there was an issue with getting the programs to the ground. So I said we'd mention it. So there you go. So apparently that's
Getting them to the ground.
It's a blessing in disguise, because ultimately, Dave, you'd have sat through there all through the first half, just circling all of the spelling mistakes and the grammatical errors in there, mate. So the club, you've done yourself a favour.
Apparently, the story was the bloke turned up and there's nobody at the ground. We've got full-time staff. How can there be nobody at the ground? Must have been the same person who's doing the team sheets. He wasn't there either. Anyway, but these happens. World isn't perfect, is it? So we won't criticise anyone.
Look at this. Look, Dave's trying to end on a positive note. I love
What
it.
is this? We have got to say a get well soon to a couple of Saints fans. Cameron Miller and non-league Jesus, also known as Owen Diplock. They caught some disease in Welling over the course of the weekend, and then they're not feeling the brightest. So get well soon, fellas. Hopefully we'll see you at Bath. But yes, thank you also for all the lovely support that this podcast has received over the last week or so, certainly the last few hours as well. We are just some fans wittering nonsense, but it means quite a bit to so many, it seems. So we're all very appreciative of all the kind words, and thank you for everyone who comes up and taps us on our shoulder at games as well. We absolutely love it. Next time, bring money or beer or both.
Yes, yeah.
We like all of that. Do come and say hello. Thank you so much for all the comments and the emails. Young Jacob is going to give you the lowdown about how to get in touch with us right now.
Go on, Dave.
Before you do that, Jake.
Christ, that scared me.
Talking of emails, we put an email address on this a few years ago, didn't we, when we started doing it on video? And when people used to email me, I used to also go into my inbox, my personal one, so I knew they'd come in. And there's been nothing for ages. I thought nobody was doing it anymore. Then Big Tony mentioned last night, I sent you one last week, and I hadn't seen it. And when I went on to the thing, there's loads of them there. But yours wasn't there, Tony. So apologies to everybody who has sent emails in, and I haven't got a reply. I will start clearing them, particularly Chris, who seems to spend one a day, I think, which is great. Send them in now, and I'll check it twice a week, and we make sure you do get a mention. So put your points there if you want to. If you don't want to be mentioned, but you want your point put across, we do that quite happily. Which it takes us on to an email Andy Hammond sent me. He said, "I see you today on the fans forum, but a well-known posters troll said." Son of one of the club's yes men, ? I wouldn't know, Andy. Described you as one of the clowns on the clown cast. Well, I don't mind that, but one of the reasons that I don't go on forums is because people go on there anonymously using fake names and whatnot. And no doubt this person's done that because he hasn't got the courage of his convictions. Well, come up to a Saturday and I'll quite happily talk to you about it. And I wear big shoes, floppy shoes like a clown, if that suits you. But yes, don't be a chicken to hide behind false names, particularly when the club's Twitter feed is an absolute shambles this season. You're going to give details how people get in touch, Jake?
Yeah, I mean,
it was all going so well, wasn't it?
It was. I was just going to say, Lee, do you see the irony of Dave making a mistake with the email address, and yet he accuses everyone else of getting things wrong with team sheets?
Yeah, I know.
It's almost
the ineptitude's incredible.
It's almost as if Dave isn't perfect. Yeah, I don't know. Podful of Saints is on Twitter. Email it is in the description below, and if you email now, Dave will actually read it. So there we go. Let's end on that positive.
Make sure you put your name, fake or otherwise, and then we'll get back to you regardless.
Thank you all for watching and listening to us, and we will speak to you again next week after the Saints do something against Bath and Hemel. Come on, you Saints!
Hey,
come on, you Saints! We'll speak to you soon. Bye, everyone.